The following is a presentation of the BellyUpSports Media Network.
The ball sends it over to Edward Robles. Go! InsertName FC! Let's go, InsertName FC! What is up, everybody? My name is Hector Flores, host of the InsertName FC podcast, a member of the BellyUpSports Media Network. I don't know why the hell I just did that, but I did it. A member of BellyUpSports. You can also find us on all things podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, wherever you get your podcast needs. You can find us there. Also, we're available on YouTube. Make sure if you guys are listening to us through YouTube, man, go ahead and subscribe. We're trying to grow this platform out as much as we're also growing on our other platforms. Follow us on Instagram and X at InsertNameFC. And we're on TikTok as well, so at insert.name.fc. So there's also that. But also, if you guys, the reason behind the whole video podcasting option is because of the fact that we are also available on GolzTV. If you guys don't know what GolzTV is a Hulu service, the Hulu of soccer content. It has content of all regions of the U.S., covering MLS, USL from across the country. Also, if you're interested on the Americans' perspective, like what we do here at InsertName FC, you can also find something for you. Also, they have EA Sports FC content, card collecting content. So if it's soccer, it's a good chance that it's there. So go ahead and check out GolzTV also. And if you are listening to GolzTV, thank you so much. Keep growing this amazing, amazing product that Jose is building here. But yeah, so episode 152, kind of like how I mentioned last episode, this episode's going to not feature Edward, and it's because November 13th is my mom's birthday, which is Monday. Normally, me and Edward record on Mondays because that's the only day that Edward's available to record. The rest of the time, it's him being a father or working or helping his family out. So he just doesn't really have much time to give, and the only day he could give is Mondays. But because of my mom's birthday, we did not record. So that's the reason why. Also, huge weekend, at least for me, because Friday obviously was the Marine Corps birthday. November 10th is the Marine Corps birthday. Then follow that up with Veterans Day, which is a great day for me because I get free food. November 12th, which was Sunday, was my niece's birthday. She turned 13. A lot to unveil on that, a lot to unravel on that one. But yeah, my niece turned 13, and of course Monday, November 13th, is my mother's birthday, turning 63 years old. So it's a really eventful weekend. It was really exciting to be able to celebrate all those things, and at the end of it, to be able to honor the person that I will tell you matters most to me, which is my mother. It was pretty great. My mom has done a lot of sacrifices. She left her country. Her country of El Salvador, came to the U.S. with basically nothing, and now she's a homeowner. She's a resident. She pays taxes. She's literally the epitome of the American dream, and my mom still doesn't stop working. So, hopefully one day I can fully repay her for everything that she's done for me and my brother and my sisters. Because, it's crazy how someone's decision to leave her comfort to come to somewhere to a place that they're not really know anything, might not even be able to speak the language, take that risk and for it to pay off the way it did is honestly one of the best things about this country. I know that there's a lot of negativity that comes with the U.S. and I get all those things, but when you hear about stories like my mom's, it's possible. It's just you gotta be able to grind it out. And I'm not trying to say some people handle their situations different than others, none of that, but it's just I can only speak from the experiences that was in front of me, and obviously that's my mom. And so my mom, she did achieve the American dream. Hopefully one day I'm able to fully repay her. I don't think I ever will. That's an impossible task, but I'm hoping one day I can finally let her not be able to work. Will be the cool thing. But anyways, this episode, Kelcey from High Low Sports is going to be joining us in this episode. He's going to help me talk about the NWSL Final. We're going to look at the U.S. men's national team roster for this weekend. International break is this weekend, so we're going to look at what the U.S. men's national team is going to be rocking with. By the time this episode drops, the first game that they'll be playing against Trinidad and Tobago has already been played, so it'll be going into their match that they have on the 20th. So big implications on that game. We'll explain it when we get to that part. We're going to preview the Liga MX playoffs, explain to you guys the new playoff format, what we think about it, and at least that first round of matches, how what we think is going to go down, and announce our players of the week like we always do, and highlight some games for you guys to enjoy, and then it'll be back to just be me wrapping this show up in a pretty little bow. So can't wait for that. But yeah, so it's a really good episode. Obviously we are the part of me and Kelcey. We already did it. I'm just doing the intro and conclusion right now, as you can tell, as you'll see, as I'm wearing completely different clothes from that. Or obviously if you're listening to the podcast, then you won't know. But yeah, so that's that. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and take a break, and then we'll get right into it with me and Kelcey's overreactions from this past weekend.
Are you ready to elevate your sports betting experience? Look no further than DraftKings Sportsbook. Why choose DraftKings Sportsbook? Unmatched variety. Bet on your favorite sports leagues or discover new ones to follow. Live betting. Test your instincts and feel the adrenaline as you bet in real time while the game unfolds. Promotions and boosted odds. DraftKings keeps the excitement going with a range of promotions, odds boosts, and special offers. And a user-friendly interface. Whether you're a seasoned bettor or new to the game, DraftKings' intuitive platform makes placing bets a breeze. Ready to dive in? BellyUpSports has partnered with DraftKings Sportsbook to give you an exclusive offer. Sign up at dkng.co/BellyUp150 and new customers will get $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet $5 or more. Don't miss out on this opportunity to take your love for sports to the next level. Sign up today and let the games begin. Please gamble responsibly. 21 years or older. Eligibility restrictions apply. See website for details.
All right, guys, as I mentioned in the introduction, we're bringing in the super sub. Edward is not available because we're not recording this on a Monday. Well, because, Monday was my mom's birthday, and I'd be a very awful human being to be working on my mom's birthday. So,
no comment.
Of course, super sub, Kelcey time. This is feel like way overdue, man. It feels like it's been a while now.
Yeah, we've been trying to get it set up the last couple of times, but obviously you talk about working on your mom's birthday. I've worked on my mom's birthday, my grandma's birthday, I think my stepdad's birthday at this point in time. Just my dog's birthday I didn't work on, but she's the only one that got that courtesy. So yeah, I've been busy, but I'm glad to be back on. It is always my favorite time when I get to come on, insert name, and talk a little bit of football. It's
always great, man. Hopefully one day we can have one where it's you, me, and Edward. Maybe even bring Jose into it because Jose is also a really great person to talk footy with. But yeah, we got you here. Obviously we got you back. So of course we'll let you have the honors of having the first overreaction from this past weekend of football.
Overreaction. I think I'm looking at Chelsea right now. Look, you got off to a good start. Your young upstart striker. He looked great. Last time that happened, though, they went goalless for the next 10 games. So let's calm down here, Chelsea. You're still Chelsea. You're still not top of the league. And The kid scored 3 goals in, was it 7 days? Pretty good honors. Obviously, they're 4-4 draw with Man City, being what it is. It looked good on paper, but that's on paper. We need to not take this further. I mean, I don't know. Chelsea this year just doesn't seem like it has very many teeth, and they finally found a tooth, and next thing you know, they're going to overuse it, and it's going to be very dull very quickly.
I mean, what a week for Chelsea. At least you got to mention that you give Tottenham their first loss of the season, and then you go at least collect a point with Manchester City, which I'm sure no one had faith in you going into any of these 2 matches that you were going to prevail. So, no, I mean,
I remember texting you during the Man City game and being like, hey, yeah, my player of the week might be Erling Haaland if he can bag this hat trick, fully assuming he's going to get the hat trick in the next 5 to 10 minutes. And then before you know it, obviously he doesn't score his hattie. But yeah, like I didn't expect this from Chelsea, but at the same time, broken clock's right twice a day. Maybe both of those days, both of those moments are in this last week. I don't know. But yeah, it just feels a little too early to start crowning them again. Like everybody wants to crown Chelsea as the comeback kids. Now they're going to turn around in the second half of the season. Like let's not kid ourselves yet.
Yeah, that's a pretty good overreaction, honestly, though. I mean, unless you're a Chelsea fan, but
right.
No, let's be realistic. You know,
nobody's a Chelsea fan.
This is a positive, but I think my overreaction this week is actually going to go towards the USL. The USL coming off of an amazing just series of announcements that they've been dropping. Obviously, they just got their new partnership with CBS Sports. So now all their matches are going to be available on CBS Sports, not through a streaming service. It's actually going to be available on cable. You still got to pay for it, but I mean, like it's
more over cable though,
more accessible than it is for the MLS. I know a lot of people complain. I've said a lot of positivity about Apple TV, and I still stand by it. I understand people are complaining, but to be honest, man, Apple TV is actually not that bad. It's worth it. I would say.
My $6.99 a month is well worth that. Plus, I mean, what is it, $34.99 for the MLS extension at the beginning of the season? Now it's like,
and you can watch all the games. You can watch any game, no blackouts.
Every game. Like I live in Ohio now, so watching Atlanta United, who's the team I guess I have dubbed my hometown team. I guess from growing up down south for so long. You know, once Atlanta became the expansion team, that was my team to watch. So obviously, I still watch them, and I can't watch those games in Ohio because everything they want to show here is Columbus. And I'm sorry, I have never been a Crew fan my entire life. Back to MLS '96, and you know. Those days. I never liked the Crew. Never been the team. So yeah, I got
kind of ironic that that's the team that eliminated Atlanta.
I know. I didn't want to go there, but yeah.
But aside from that, obviously, you know, USL gets this partnership deal with CBS Sports. Shout out to GolzTV, by the way. They also have a partnership with the USL. You can watch your highlights or all your news updates is coming from GolzTV. So really cool for them on their end on that platform. But and then on top of all that, it's just you had an amazing final. You know, Phoenix Rising versus the Charleston Battery. I'm not gonna lie, I like Phoenix Rising just because like I remember the hype that this team had, you know, early years when they had Drogba, and it was crazy to me that they've never won a USL championship, but now they won their first USL championship trophy. But the thing that like I was actually rooting for Charleston, and it's because Beto Avila, who's on loan there from the Houston Dynamo, and he's also a really good friend. So he actually was playing, and also props to him for somehow getting the number 69. I don't know how he managed to get that done, but yeah. So I was rooting for him. Unfortunately, obviously, it went to very dramatic penalties, by the way, because I thought this was it for Phoenix Rising. They missed their first 2 penalties as Charleston's just sinking their first 2. So you're like, all right, this game's over. And then flipped, Phoenix goes ahead and scores their next 3 penalties, and Charleston's unable to score their next 3. So it was just one of those like crazy endings to a final. But hey, Phoenix Rising wins it, the USL. I mean, if you're a San Diego Loyal fan, you're probably more pissed off than anything that not only the team that eliminated you from this tournament, but now they're the ones lifting the trophy, where it could have been you at least. Unfortunately, obviously, San Diego Loyal will not be an existing club anymore. But like I said, it's exciting about USL. I'm not saying they're competing with MLS by any means, but getting more exposure, getting at least it's clearly someone believes in them to be like, let's showcase this product a little bit more. They're getting new clubs coming into there, so USL is definitely going to be a very interesting league to watch. And once again, they're not technically the second division in the US, but obviously that's what everyone deems them as.
Mm-hmm.
But they're making big moves that you wouldn't see a second division team be doing.
Yeah, they really are, and actually, it's funny because my work life actually overlaps a little bit in this conversation with the USL because I work a lot with unions. Well, one of the sponsors of the Las Vegas Lights is LIUNA, one of the biggest unions in the US, as well as there's also another USL, I believe, 2 team that has a sponsorship from another organization. So we actually got to cover them, and they actually just recently, got a new mental health awareness program for their players as part of their USLPA. So look, they got a lot of things going for them this year. It's not just for the players' health and players' safety and players' wages, which is a whole new part of it too. With the new PA, they get new improved wages, but now you have fantastic performances on and off the field, and yeah, I don't know, it's pretty impressive.
But yeah, so talking about one final and going into this is our recap of the NWSL Final. Gotham FC wins it against OL Reign 2-1 in what was a lot of hype being built into this game because of obviously this is the final match of 2 U.S. women's national team legends in Ali Krieger and Megan Rapinoe. Unfortunately, didn't end well for Megan Rapinoe, as she actually got injured very early in the match. But aside from that, this was a very close game. Gotham had the edge on possession by 53%. Gotham outshot them 9-7, but shots on target was even at 2. The goal that did come from the OL Reign was Rose Lavelle, who is a big name coming up for the women's national team for sure. Hopefully, eventually we'll see her wearing that number 10 for USA, scoring in the 29th minute mark. And then Gotham FC, their 2 goals coming from the most reliable goal scorer right now, if you want to say, for U.S. women's national team, and that's Lynn Williams in the 24th minute. And literally coming off of a World Cup victory with Spain. I'm sure people still forget that Spain won the World Cup because there's other things that overshadow that. Esther Gonzalez, who scored the winner in the 45th in stoppage time. After that, basically the second half became like a defensive showcase for everybody. Maybe some people weren't watching, but I was. And
it's fun.
And it got pretty frisky at the end because there was a red card on the goalkeeper of all people to have a red card in the final minutes of the game. Literally in stoppage time. So props to the player. I don't remember the name of the player, but she did step in, put on the goalkeeper top, and just waited it out, man. Once again, solid defensive performance by Gotham FC. And it's crazy to think that, not only did Gotham win their first NWSL championship, giving Ali Krieger her send-off because this is her first NWSL championship period. This team last year was dead bottom with 4 wins, 1 draw, and 17 losses. They were at the bare bottom of the NWSL last year. They go in and get Juan Carlos Amoros, who was the interim manager over at the Houston Dash. I'm sure no one in the Dash right now isn't kicking themselves about not keeping him around. Brings him in and immediately turns his club over. And I mean, there's a lot of things that you should. Gotham is already a very solid team all around. Obviously, Ali Krieger, name that comes up. Midge Purse, another big name that comes off of that. I mean, we mentioned Lynn Williams and Esther Gonzalez. It's a very loaded team. They did everything that they needed to do right. And I think that's what sums up how Gotham wins it all this year.
Yeah, no, it was an impressive final. Obviously, most people will recognize pretty much any name on OL Reign at the end of the day. You can run down it as a laundry list of international superstars in the women's game. Mostly, I mean, whether it be American or not, this is a team, for those that don't know, it used to be the Seattle Reign. So just, keeping you up on that. And then Gotham FC, I mean, this is a team that, you mentioned it, dead last year. A team that nobody expected anything of. Ali Krieger's like, hey, you know what? Maybe I should have retired at the end of last year. It was a poor season. She somehow convinced herself to come back this year. And wow. I don't know if you could really, for whether it had been her or Megan Rapinoe, I don't know if I'd have the same feelings for both. I think Megan Rapinoe, she's won so much in her career. This one doesn't, if she had won the NWSL title, that's her first as well, but it wouldn't have been as cool for me. Whereas Ali Krieger, who has kind of been you talk about a player that's been, bitten by injury throughout her career, been benched throughout her career in World Cups, fought back at every single time. And here she is finally getting her first NWSL championship on her very last kick of the ball, basically. It's a fantastic story there. And, I don't know. I was glad to see a team outside of Seattle, Portland, or insert another Western Conference team in the NWSL winning another title, it feels like.
No, yeah, I think as like the NWSL continues to grow, I think it's a lot of people like this league, especially when you talk about like high profile women's players that do end up coming to this league. I know that things are kind of finally getting a little bit better in Europe, just because now they want to compete with the NWSL, and they're just going to keep expanding. I mean, Bay Area FC, good God, that's going to be one of the newer additions in the NWSL. So the league's going to get bigger. You're going to get more high profile names. I mean, there's a lot of big names overall in this league as well. But yeah, I obviously, amazing send off for Ali Krieger. And yeah, what a turnaround for Gotham FC. This is kind of one of those things that, like, how I would tell you that maybe like having those salary caps and that parity is kind of where it is enjoyable in at least in the American sense of sports, because obviously when you go to Europe, the teams with the most money are probably going to finish in the top 4, top 5, whereas maybe a team like Gotham who finished the bottom probably stays as a bottom dweller. You don't get those stories like you do here in the US. And then, like I said, it's only getting bigger. So the NWSL is going to be tinkering. They're going to be changing their playoff formats. Hopefully nothing crazy like the MLS is doing right now. But it is this is what you get here in the US is that parity. Why the playoffs is so fun for Americans is because you got to get in it to win it, and you see what happens.
Yeah,
this is the result.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, look, this is a developing league, and what's funny about this league, in a lot of ways, is Americans, we've always wanted a soccer league to kind of call our own. The funny thing with the NWSL is they've been just the home of every single superstar female for a long time. You think about to the time when Marta joining back with Orlando Pride back in the day. Christine Sinclair, Abby Wambach, all these players played through the NWSL or some form of the NWSL in the past. I mean, we have Alex Morgan now in the league. You mentioned Esther Gonzalez, and there's Lynn Williams. I mean, name an American at this point in time. They're playing in the NWSL for the most part. And yeah, there's a lot of excitement there and a lot of fun to continue growing. And you talk about earlier USL getting a deal with CBS. Well, by the way, there's 25% of the games for the NWSL are aired on CBS. The rest Paramount Plus. So I mean, you talk about getting eyes on the league as well. It's one of those things that you expect it to grow continuously, and especially you look at a lot of women's development leagues. You talked about Europe; they're starting to grow. Well, they're trying to model themselves after the NWSL, and yeah, it's a lot of fun to see. And I agree, parity is a fantastic thing. Especially when you have that's the whole idea of having a salary cap. Now there's a certain time when you outgrow it. Looking at the MLS, sometimes maybe you have to let that one go potentially. But in the NWSL and its stage in its development right now, I think it's a fantastic part of keeping parity in the league.
No, yeah, exactly. So amazing final. Love that I was able to watch it. Not only watch it, but watch it with my nieces. I mean, I don't know how much they were really watching it, but it was still really cool for them to see, like, hey, look, there's women on TV, and not only like on Paramount, it was on CBS, so it was actually like on a public channel for everybody to watch. And once again, NWSL did a really good job on how they laid out the final. The crowd was great over there in Snapdragon Stadium. I think that was really cool. Also, I feel like that's something that I kind of want to see the MLS go back to doing, is having those different locations for finals, not necessarily have like the higher seed host the game, which I'm indifferent about it, but I did like it when it was like on a different venue, just adds another appeal to it.
Until like Toronto and Seattle finished in the finals back to back years, and it just seemed to rotate between those two plus Portland. Yeah, for the location. And you're just like, guys, can we leave the Pacific Northwest here so a Pacific Northwest team can compete in this? And let's not forget that negative 12-degree game in Toronto.
Oh, dear God, yeah. Yeah, we need to just avoid some West Coast games, man. Just because of the fact that, like, God, that being up earlier than we needed to be watching a game.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the stadium part of it, because Snapdragon Stadium, yes, it's developed for dual use, both football and football, but it originally came into development with soccer in mind first. So the American, soccer. So yeah,
which will be the home of San Diego FC as well. So.
Yeah, San Diego FC. You have San Diego Wave, and then you also have San Diego State college football team. But yeah, I mean, they were the add-on into all of this group, whereas it was built for specifically for soccer, which is something NWSL wise unique. First women's team you can honestly say had a soccer first stadium built for them, and that's in and of itself is actually really cool. So maybe you may see more of that as well.
Yep. So awesome! Can't wait to see what we got next year for NWSL. All right. So it's November. This weekend is the international break. So that means we have the U.S. men's national team call-ups. And there is not a friendly. It's actually they're actually going to be competitive matches, quote-unquote competitive, depending on how you feel about the Nations League. But yeah, it is the quarterfinals of the CONCACAF Nations League. By the time this episode drops, the first match has already been played, which is going to be in Austin, Texas at Q2 Stadium. And it's against Trinidad and Tobago. But on the 20th, they will be playing in Trinidad and Tobago, actually in Hazy Crawford Stadium in Port of Spain, Trinidad, against Trinidad and Tobago. So it's a 2-leg matchup, but there is some important implications on this because the winner obviously advances to the semifinal of the CONCACAF Nations League, but also qualifies for the 2024 Copa America. So that's a very important thing because it is hosted here in the U.S., and it'd be pretty embarrassing to not be in the tournament that you're hosting.
Yeah, let's. I don't even want to put that into the air. That's a whole lot of negativity to be putting in the air right there.
Yeah. So there is some importance to the matches. Obviously, also everyone's bragging about the potential of the U.S. going for their third straight Nations League. Once again, I don't know how you feel about the Nations League. I'm not here to preach about whether or not the Nations League is good or not. I really don't want to defend the Nations League.
Nations League is good for certain teams. To say it's a good quality tournament for the U.S. to try to find their first primary squad, probably a reach. For somebody like Trinidad and Tobago, that's probably fair. Yeah.
So there is some positives, there's some negatives all around. But so this is the roster that one Greg Berhalter is rolling with, which, look, I said it's a positive about Greg Berhalter. We saw a change in his formation. We saw a number 10 being used, which is big if you know how I feel about Greg Berhalter. So there's some evolution. Do we see more of that here? Probably not, because this is, like I said, what's at stake in these games. But in the friendlies, I have no problem with him playing around with the formations. Maybe one day we'll see a 3 in the back. Who knows? But for right now, we'll see what happens. But all right, goalkeepers, this is where you're gonna have Kelcey's full attention because he loves goalkeepers. We have Ethan Horvath of Nottingham Forest. Has had 9 caps with the U.S. men's national team. Really not much else you can say about that. Gaga Slonina, who currently plays at KAS Eupen in Belgium, who already has been cap tied with the U.S. men's national team. And, of course, our number 1, Matt Turner at Nottingham Forest, as well, just like Ethan Horvath, except there's some rumors speculating that he might be leaving in January because I think he lost his starting job at Nottingham, and who obviously has 35 caps. Just looking at the goalkeepers right now, how do you feel about goalkeepers?
This is no surprise. Let's be honest. At this point in time, it's going to be Matt Turner every time out. If it's anything that's not a friendly or an MLS window, it's going to be Matt Turner. Ethan Horvath obviously makes sense there at Nottingham Forest. The irony there that it's Matt Turner and Ethan Horvath both playing at the same club team is not lost on anybody here as well. The guy I'm so interested about Gaga Slonina. And it's nothing against Matt Turner. Nothing against Ethan Horvath. I've seen those two. I know what they can do. I'm just whatever. Gaga Slonina is a guy who I don't know where he fits into the American scheme yet. Like, yes, he is capped. He was also available for other nations, and it's unique because the last time a goalkeeper was like that with America, I believe, was Guillermo Ochoa, and he chose Mexico. Mm-hmm. And so with Slonina, it's a very different story here, and something I'm interested in seeing how much he does play. And I think this is a situation where I would see him maybe get a few more appearances. I especially think if they win game 1 handily, I don't expect to see Horvath or Turner in game 2. I've been proven wrong before with Berhalter. But I do think this is, like I said, I think this is a time to establish what we're working towards in the World Cup in 26 and not try to just like dabble with everything. I think this is a time you throw a guy like Gaga Slonina out there. I think it's a time, you throw Ethan Horvath and you let Matt Turner sit. I do think that's an opportunity. I know Matt Turner is also trying to like build stuff for his club team here. Whatever. Get out of here. I don't care about that right now. Like, I care about 2026 and what we're going to put out on the field. Really, 2024, Copa as well. That's important. But yeah, I think, you should look at this. No surprises, really, but I am very intrigued by Gaga Slonina.
Yeah, I want to mention Gaga Slonina as well, but only because I find it a little bit disappointing that I see him on this roster. And the reason why is because also, while this is going on, there's also a U23 team kind of going on as they're preparing for the Olympics, which is another thing that's happening this summer. Is that the Olympics is coming, and I feel like Gaga Slonina should be over with the U23 players, building that chemistry up, getting familiar with that team, because if it was me, I would want Slonina to be the goalkeeper for the Olympic team, because I would like to show that we care about both these tournaments. I would love to see some of the guys that we're gonna mention on this, also play not only in the Copa America, but also compete in the Olympics. And I think that there's a lot of players. Obviously, they say it's up to Greg Berhalter, but I don't think it's necessarily his call. It's also, but I can see him preventing certain players from going. Mm-hmm. But I think like Gaga Slonina for me he needs to keep. There's certain players that you could just throw them in and they'll do well. But then like guys like Gaga Slonina, I want him to build that rapport, especially when we're talking about that back line for the U.S.
I agree somewhat. I will say I do want to see him with the U23 setup. That's no doubt in my mind. It's come Olympic time, I want him to be the guy in between the sticks. That's what I want to see. But I also think this is where I get a little weird about it. Is I think the challenge of facing a Trinidad and Tobago team full of grown men is tougher than facing the U23 scrimmage setup that they have going on right now, basically. Nothing against the U23 talent level, and I'm not trying to say that, but we can all agree that when you talk about a 27-year-old man playing for Trinidad and Tobago versus a 19 to 23-year-old playing, there's a different talent gap there. And I think as long as he sees the field, this is fine with me. And I do have to put that caveat, because if he doesn't see the field, then this is a waste of time. Like, we just, throw who cares in there? Throw, I don't know, one of the old heads that's still in the league. I don't care. But if you put him, if Greg Berhalter actually uses him, then I'm fine with it. But yeah, I mean, for him, I think the goal is 23, like the U23 setup, and then working towards the future. But yeah, I agree. And he's him among many other players, I will say that with. But yeah, I think that's the caveat to it. While I do like the idea of building chemistry, the chemistry with goalkeepers is kind of pretty easy, to be honest. Mm-hmm. As long as you can vocalize and you can communicate with your backline, that's all they need to do. It's kind of like, to some degrees, a wide receiver and an offensive lineman. They don't really communicate other than to be like, yo, I got this block. And at the end of the day, that's really what a goalkeeper does. He's like, hey, I got the ball, ball, keeper, whatever he says. That needs to be the communication. Obviously, how he rolls the ball out, that's all stuff that they'll work on in time. But less concerned about that right now. More concerned about him actually facing more quality shots on goal.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I agree with that one. So, but I mean, I do expect to see Matt Turner in both those games, and I think that's probably the reason why.
Unfortunately, I think you're right.
I think that's why I'm a little bit more critical about the selection of Slonina, though I do believe he is going to be the future of US soccer. Though goalkeeper is like a weird position because it's not necessarily an age thing. Like, it's just, Goalkeepers can be playing till like they're 50. So,
and they can be playing as early as 18.
Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic. And I think as long as Matt Turner is still the shot stopping guy that we think he is capable of being, that's his position for him to lose. But moving on to defenders, man. So Cameron Carter-Vickers of Celtic over in Scotland with 14 caps. Sergino Dest of PSV Eindhoven over the Netherlands with 30 caps. Christopher Lunn from Palmero over in Italy with 3 caps so far. A guy that I've been really intrigued by. Still want to see a little bit more of him. Still not sure about him. Tim Ream, old man Tim Ream from Fulham, 53 caps. That is crazy to think how long this guy's been playing for the U.S. Soccer. Chris Richards over at Crystal Palace. I know there's some rumors going on possibly of him making a move in January, but currently at Crystal Palace in England with 14 caps. Jedi, he's back from Fulham. He has 37 caps. That shocked me by that. I didn't realize how many caps he's had with the U.S. team. Miles Robinson from Atlanta United, 27 caps so far. And, of course, a guy that's been really getting a lot of people's attention, Joe Scally from Borussia Mönchengladbach in Germany with 7 caps. Anything that you want to point out from this defense group?
So, one, it feels like Cameron Carter-Vickers has had way more than 14 caps. Am I the only one that feels that way? Like, he's been in the squad and he's been involved in squads for so long. It feels like he's gotten more caps. I guess not. But
he called up, just doesn't play.
Yeah, exactly. He just sits on the bench. He practices and is like, you know what? He's not good enough. So you're going to sit over there on the bench, or he's not big enough. That was the big one under Jurgen Klinsmann. Christopher Lund, though, I am also encouraged by what I've seen so far. I am curious, though. Where does he finally fit in with his team? Because there's a lot of talent in that back. And there's, I mean, not to like call him out, but at the end of the day, like, I don't know where he fits in. And I've had this question about many of the defenders that have come through the U.S. setup in many years. I'll be the first one to admit that Jedi was the first one I questioned back in the day, and I've been proven happily wrong with how good he has been with the team. Obviously, him and Tim Ream have a fantastic matchup, but how long is Tim Ream going to be in the setup? Do you think Tim Ream plays in 26? Because I honestly don't know if I do.
I don't think he plays. I don't even think he plays in Copa America.
Yeah, like, I mean, realistically, like, at what time do you stop using him as a crutch? Because the Americans have always had this crutch defender, right? Even back to Carlos Bocanegra. These guys that just stay in the team for probably a little bit longer than they should. Gucci Onyewu, as one of the examples. I can't even think of his name now, but Jermaine Jones being another one as well. There's guys that just stay in the team for a little bit too long. So I'm worried about Tim Ream being involved still, because I think this is the one that I'd leave Tim Ream out on, personally. This is the one where I want to see a younger matchup in the center back pairing. I want to see a younger matchup with center back and wings. I want to see what they can do. I do like seeing Miles Robinson back in there, and I do love the Robinson duo. Them being on the field together. I think they're both very talented, very athletic. But yeah, Joe Scally. I'm always intrigued by him. But he's one. Like, no matter how many times I see him, I still feel like I need to see more because I'm still not sold on him.
I think that's where I'm at right now with Christopher Lund. I'm not entirely sure what I'm getting from him. He's another one of those dual nationals. I didn't even know this guy existed until you mentioned it to me when we were previewing Serie A.
Yeah,
and he's not even in the Serie A. But yeah, I think the center back. I think we know who we're gonna see as far as the fullbacks goes. But like the center back pairing, I think eventually, I think it's what we saw that last international break where we saw. Cameron Carter-Vickers and Chris Richards switching off. One plays the first half, the other plays the second half. And it's usually Tim Ream or Miles Robinson. I think Miles Robinson is in this weird situation where we know what he's capable of. Obviously, still trying to recover from his injury, which I don't know how long we're going to keep using that excuse as to why we don't use him as much. But
how many more times is he going to get injured?
How many times is he getting injured? How many times we're going to hear that he's set for a big move to Europe? It's a never ending. Like, what are we getting from Miles Robinson? As much as I enjoy Miles Robinson, as much as I think he's a very reliable player, especially in the back line. When you see two guys like Cameron Carter-Vickers and Chris Richards, Chris Richards has the size that you would want from a center back, and Cameron Carter-Vickers having the physicality and the IQ that you think that's the potential pairing especially if we're talking about 2026. Because I like Tim Ream, definitely not making the 26. Miles Robinson, I don't know if he can even make it to 2026. Because
With all the injuries, I hate to say it, but you know what he reminds me of is Jay DeMerit post Jay DeMerit's career in with Wolves. When Jay DeMerit came back to the MLS, it was very short lived, but he was always injured. The talent was always there, or even Matt Beasler. Matt Beasler with Kansas City. He's another perfect example of this. Guy that's in the MLS is fantastic, Defender of the Year nominee almost every year. But at the same time, like there's been talks of him going overseas and he never can make the move, and then he's injured. And that's why he can't make the move. And then he's injured, and that's why he misses this call up, that call up. He's not in the program for 5 months, 6 months, and it's like, man, when he's on the field, and I love the Robinson duo when Miles is healthy and on the field, because he is an athletic. He does have the physicality, and he has the ball skills as well. And I think that's an underrated part. That's something that Chris Richards has that's really, really good. Is his ability, his IQ, and his ball skills are fantastic. Whereas, you mentioned Cameron Carter-Vickers.
I think we lost Kelcey for a bit. All right, there he is.
There we go. I was off on a soliloquy, and my internet didn't keep up. But no, So I like Miles, and I love his ball skills, and I love Chris Richards' ball skills, and I think those two could make an interesting matchup if healthy. But right now I think you're right. I think CCV has the edge just because he's playing, he's overseas, he's healthy. And I think those are the things right now. As much as I would love CCV to have a better, ability with the ball at his feet, I'll take what I can get. Like if the guy punts it 40 yards, like a Gucci Onyewu used to do back in the day, it's acceptable to a degree. But I need a little more from that center back pairing. So yeah. I will hope Miles Robinson makes it to 26. I hope, or there's like an appearance of a new young kid that I don't know about yet. I don't know.
There's always that. There's always that. But all right, moving on to the midfield, we got Paxton Aronson, little brother of Brendan Aronson, already has a cap. He already has one cap, but he comes from Eintracht Frankfurt over in Germany. Obviously a lot of excitement from him. He was actually one of the reasons why we're going to the Olympics. Probably someone that I would explain that was like maybe doesn't need to be with the U23 team right now, but because we know he's already electric when he's going to immediately elevate that team once he goes and plays with them. We should be expecting him in the Olympics, but definitely like to see what he can do with the senior team. Probably that potential 10 who's going to be that backup 10 for Gio Reyna, if you will. Johnny Cardoso from Internacional over at Brazil with 9 caps. I've been getting more and more intrigued by Johnny Cardoso every single time. He is the definition of what a 6 should look like, and with his age, he's just going to get so much better. Probably a player that could take advantage of Tyler Adams' health because, once again, he's not called up because of his injury. He's dealing with injuries yet again. And so that to me is this his chance to get, and once again, he's getting attention from big clubs in Europe. Once again, he's still playing in Brazil. We know the quality in Brazil, but this kid should be getting a big move to Europe at some point, because of that Brazilian influence. But so a player I'm very intrigued by, Luca Del Torre. I mean, I don't know how many times I got to tell y'all that I like Luca Del Torre from Celta Vigo over in Spain, 19 caps so far with the U.S. Leonard Maloney from Heidenheim made his cap last international break. He plays in Heidenheim in Germany. Still might want to see a little bit more from him. Weston McKennie, obviously from Juventus, 48 caps. He is probably like the most cap player besides Tim Ream. Let that sink in for a minute. But yeah, he is. Yunus Musa from AC Milan with 31 caps. Gio Reyna from Borussia Dortmund, obviously 22 caps. Healthy Gio Reyna. I want to point that out. That's pretty important to mention that. A very healthy Gio Reyna. Malik Tillman from PS Eindhoven with 6 caps so far, but another guy that you would say probably in that discussion as a possible backup 10 for Gio Reyna. But midfield, what's your take from the midfield so far?
I'm intrigued by Leonard Maloney for no other reason than he's a dual threat. He's a CDM / he can also play center back. He also does it, at Heidenheim in Germany, and he can play center back in Germany. That's pretty impressive feat. A guy that came up in the Borussia Dortmund system along with Gio Reyna, a little bit younger, obviously, but he's intriguing. Johnny Cardoso, yeah, I'm like you. I keep liking things I see from him, and I want to see more, and I keep hoping for more of them, and I just don't get enough of them, and I don't know. I'm excited to see what he can do. I imagine he should be starting pretty much and playing the entire time throughout this break, so that's going to be good. I'm like you, Luca Della Torre. I don't know why the guy cannot get time on the field for the U.S. setup. The guy deserves it. He's the most settling presence we have in the midfield, hands down. It is something you see on every team. Look at Liverpool's best teams. James Milner was that guy. I literally pulled one out of the back here for James Milner here. But, Toni Kroos for Real Madrid. There's always a settling presence. Andrea Pirlo for years for Italy. I'm not saying he's the same talent level of these guys because he's not. But he is a skilled, talented midfielder who knows what he can do, and he settles the game down, and we need that. That's something that's not in the American game right now, because right now it's like pedal to the metal or, oh God, we're defending for our lives. There's no in between in an American setup. And as much as I love all the players that can run pedal to the metal, Yunus Musa, Weston McKennie, Brendan Aronson, Paxton Aronson, all of these guys, fantastic. I want to see a little calm occasionally. I don't want to be breathing, at 200 beats per minute with my heart for 90 minutes. That's not what I want to see every time. But yeah, hopefully he gets his opportunity. Yunus Musa, no surprise. Weston McKennie, okay. Color me surprised. The man continues to make his appearances. Gio Reyna's in the setup. Thank God. We need him in the setup at all times. Talk about building relationships. And then, Malik Tillman. I'm excited like you. I think he has that same role as Paxton, where you're kind of waiting to see who's going to be the guy that's comes out as the backup number 10. Because I think whichever one comes out as the backup number 10 is the other one's going to be slid up front or potentially out to the wing. One or the other way. And I think Malik's better in the middle and Paxton might be better coming from the sides. That's my opinion. But we'll have to wait and see down, in this one. But yeah, really I look at Johnny Cardoso, I look at Leonard Maloney, and I'm looking at Luca Della Torre as the three I'm really watching this setup. And I hope they get time, because I think even putting those three on the field together could be very intriguing. I don't know how that would look, but I think it could be very intriguing nonetheless.
Yeah, I agree. I think Paxton Aronson, and this is no shot at Brendan, obviously, but he's definitely the more talented Aronson brother.
Yes.
This is what I explained last time when I was talking about Brendan. We'll get to Brendan eventually, but Brendan is just a high work rate is what makes him very unique. He's not necessarily great at, he's not necessarily elite at anything. He's really good at a lot of things, but it's his work ethic that really pushes him over. Paxton just has it. Like he just has that talent, and like I've seen it not only from when playing with Eintracht Frankfurt, but even seeing it in the in his academy days. Like his highlights are very impeccable, and there's a reason why Eintracht Frankfurt was ready to bring him over.
16.
Yeah, I believe he actually beat his brother out to Europe. Depending on age wise.
It's funny. We Americans have always gotten this knock for hustle. A hustle category, right? Brendan Aronson encompasses that a lot. Dating back a little bit in the history of the U.S. team, you look at somebody like Clint Dempsey as the guy that's known as a great hustler. That's how he got his name early on in his career. But he was always overshadowed by a much more skilled and talented player like Landon Donovan. Well, Paxton is kind of being overshadowed by Brendan Aronson for all the wrong reasons. Like Paxton actually has all the talent and he has a high work rate, but for some reason Brendan Aronson gets all the look for the fact that his run with Philadelphia Union really put him above everybody else for some reason there. And I don't know why. I think Paxton needs to get a lot more look, to be fair. And I think give the guy talent and time, and we're going to be really, really impressed with him in the midfield. We just can't. I feel like this is one of those guys I'm worried about, just that we're going to misuse him like we do with so many other midfielders, young, talented, skilled midfielders.
I will tell you, if we see if we see the 4-3-3, and I'm talking about Greg Berhalter's 4-3-3, which obviously requires a 6.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just point it out. It has to be Johnny Cardozo. I don't know who else you put in that 6 spot. Maybe Maloney. But
I'd like to see it, but I don't know if I'm sold on him.
That's a little too early to be putting him out there in the starting lineup. But at least initially, Johnny Cardozo, I feel like, has earned that right to be at least now a starter, especially against Trinidad and Tobago. But I hope to see that Berhalter use that 4-2-3-1 formation like we did again, like last time, because it worked. But because if that's the case, Johnny Cardozo, same kind of similar to what you said with Leonard Maloney, can play as a regular CM, even though I believe you mentioned him as a center back. But kind of same thing, Johnny Cardozo is still that destroyer, that hybrid 8-6 type player. Whereas, and then obviously, then you have your Weston McKennie and Yunus Musa. But obviously, then Johnny Cardozo goes on the bench because now you got to put Gio Reyna up top at the number 10 spot. Because if we do not see that formation, it is the 4-3-3, I can bet a pretty penny that Gio Reyna will be on the wing, especially when we go into wingers, the forward position, because Christian Pulisic and Timothy Weah are out with injury, which is a big loss to the team. But also, we got to find out who steps up in the forward position, just period, specifically on the winger side, because, I mean, not going to lie to you, after Pulisic and Weah, that's a very slim list.
Yeah, I have a lot of concerns built beyond them, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it here in a second. But yeah, this is one of those things, and we already talked about him as a defender, but Serginho Dest, I still think Dest, his best position is more as a winger than it is as a fullback. And
see, that's why I mentioned the three in the back, because if you turn, then you could push up Serginho.
Yeah, I think that's something that they've dabbled with, and he's even been placed there with Eindhoven. I mean, he's been set up the field, which he actually looks really good at attacking, and in the 4-2-3-1, he looked great overlapping and being able to take that forward step. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching here, but I think you talk about depth here. Well, we need to find as much depth as possible, and it might be the way we go.
All right, so going to forwards, we have Brendan Aronson from Union Berlin over in Germany with 36 caps so far with the U.S. Folarin Balogun from Monaco over in France with 6 caps. Kevin Paredes from Wolfsburg, who has just become a rising talent as of lately over in the Bundesliga, coming in with 2 caps already. Ricardo Pepi from PSV Eindhoven with 20 caps. Once again, that Balogun Pepi debate that continues to go on here with U.S. Soccer. And the final player in the call-up is Alex Zendejas of Club America in Mexico with 7 caps. Once again, no Christian Pulisic, no Timothy Weah. Someone's going to have to step up in that position. Kevin Paredes is an interesting name for me when we're talking about the wing because of how he's performing so far in the Bundesliga with Wolfsburg. But, I mean, Zendejas is there, and he needs to show out because last time they got last international break, he didn't play a single game. So it's kind of, to me right now, I think it's make it or break it time for Zendejas, or else he looks like an idiot for choosing the U.S. over Mexico. But like I said, weirdly enough, strikers for the first time, we're not necessarily worried about the position. It's between 2 guys, clearly between Balogun and Pepi, but it's like, I don't mind if you put either or at this point because both of them have been showing out. And as a matter of fact, when we saw Reyna, Pulisic, and Balogun together in the field, they looked beautiful. It was amazing performance against Ghana. So now the question, unfortunately, for this one, which is probably like why the U.S. is a little bit relieved that it is against Trinidad and Tobago, because you lose arguably your 2 best wingers.
Mm-hmm. I think it's arguably. I think it's very comfortably your 2 best wingers.
You lose your best wingers. Obviously the ultimate dog in Timothy Weah, and of course your captain Christian Pulisic. You're probably your once in a lifetime generational player. At least that's what everyone feels that he is.
Landon Donovan 2.0, whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, unless you want to mention anything about the 9 position, but obviously I think at this point when you're looking at forwards, the wings is the one that's got to be talked about, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this a couple times now. That I think what decides the wings in this is what formation we come out in, right? If we run the 4-2-3-1, it's gonna be Balogun up front, and that then begs the question of who do you slide out? You know, is it Aronson and Paredes? Is it Zendejas and Paredes? Is it Aronson and Zendejas? Like, how do you do that? But I think I'm gonna throw a weird idea out here with the 4-3-3. The way we could run that. You have Aronson on one side, Balogun on the other, and you slide Ricardo Pepi in the middle. You know, they dabbled with that a little bit with Balogun's one of his first appearances there when they had Brendan Alvarez on the team as well, FC Cincinnati striker, and it worked. He could attack the wings as well, and maybe that's the way we develop depth: is we run a 4-3-3 with Ricardo Pepi and stick him in the center, and then Balogun on the outside with Aronson, and that could be your backup wingers essentially. But yeah, I think you're right. I think Zendejas and Paredes have to make a name for themselves if they're going to be included in any of these conversations. But they have to do it this break. I think this break is the one with no Pulisic, no Weah. This is your opportunity. You know, this is the old Eminem song. Like, don't miss your chance to break here. But this is really it. I mean, you can't expect to be given a lot. And Zendejas, he's looked athletic. He's looked energetic. But if that's the two things I'm giving you for a designation, it's not good enough for the current U.S. setup. That was good enough for the 2006 setup to be energetic and to be athletic, but that's not good enough for 2024, 2026 U.S. national team. And so, yeah, I mean, I think he needs to make an impact here. I think Paredes, he's intriguing. I think he has a long time to come into build into this team, but I think he could make a name for himself now and get involved with this. But yeah, I think my big question comes: what do we roll out in a positionally? And if we run a 4-3-3, maybe we develop depth by sliding Balogun out and putting Pepi in the middle and letting those two play together and see how that works, or maybe adapting the 4-2-3-1 to giving a little bit more, maybe Pepi up front and Balogun a little more forward positioning to play as a second striker to run off of him in a lot of ways, similar to, like, you know, your older Barcelona teams before the tiki-taka really took effect.
No, yeah, I agree. I think just to like close it out, I from all the players, I'm happy with everybody. I want, like I said, Gaga Slanina, feel like he should be over with the U23 team, but I think the most important, not most importantly, but at this point for this guy, because of just how many young players are coming out. Because this may sound ridiculous, but you could honestly flip Cade Cowell and Alex Zendejas, which I'll tell you right now, I do think Cade Cowell is a little bit overrated.
Yes,
he's just a really fast guy. Like, I mean, that's really all he has going for him. But he brings it. That's the reason why he's with the U23 team and not here.
Yeah.
But Zendejas, like, he made the switch. You know, which, I mean, there was a whole controversy about the switch because he wasn't supposed to make the switch, but he did to make the switch. It's a whole confusing thing. But the thing is now with Zendejas, you officially stated your commitment to the U.S. men's national team, and it was already hard to begin with because of the fact that Pulisic and Weah are the two guys the two clear wingers. So, but at least you felt like, well, I mean, I got the backup role at least locked in, and now, you know, obviously Brendan Aronson, still a player that the team really likes because of his hard work ethic, and now you have this Kevin Paredes kid stepping up in the Bundesliga and looking really good. I mean, should you be worried about Copa America? He might be that one of those players that ends up going with the Olympics. So maybe Zendejas at least feels safe for that. But then after Copa America, Zendejas, if he doesn't show out, which, like I said, he missed out on an opportunity to because he didn't even play a single game in the last international break. And if he doesn't play in this international break, I think it's time. I think we move on from Alex Zendejas.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, like, he has one goal to his name right now, and it's against Granada. That tells me everything I need to know.
Yeah, so. But all right, guys, so that is the U.S. men's national team roster. Once again, their matches will be November 16th, which by the time this episode drops, it's already been played. And the second leg of the match will be November 20th over at Trinidad and Tobago, over at Hazy Crawford Stadium. So hopefully by the time they play that second leg, they're in a very comfortable position where we can see probably some other players. But if not, the torture of Trinidad and Tobago, everyone remembers.
Don't I ever remember it?
But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and take a break, and then we'll get going with our preview for the Liga MX playoffs.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at BellyUpSports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
And we're back. Liga MX, the Apertura Playoffs are officially in. Decision day was a very dramatic finish. And if you guys don't know, there has been some changes to the playoff format at Liga MX. So this is basically my chance to explain to what happened. So the new format is top 6 teams advance immediately to the quarterfinals, meaning that 7th to 10th place will now play in a play-in round. So kind of copying the NBA in some sense here with this one. Because this is where it gets maybe to the non-soccer person. It's probably going to get a little confusing. So the 7th and 8th seed will play in a game to decide who will be the 7th seed, who will then face the 2nd seed in the quarterfinals. So that's the second game. There's another game which is between the 9th and 10th place team, which then would have to face the loser of the 7th and 8th place game to decide who ends up playing the first seed in the quarterfinals. So if you guys don't know, the NBA does this with the play-in round where 7th and 8th seed play against each other. Winner goes and takes on the 2nd seed. The winner of the 9th and 10th place game would get, basically the loser gets a redemption. That's got to be super exhausting. I think this is definitely going to be. They might change this. At least I would hope so.
I'm hoping they change this because this is. Look, here's my biggest complaint about the entire play-in idea: is you're the 7th place team and you win your first game. Congratulations! You just played a meaningless game to hold your same seed, and you still have to play Monterrey in the first round. Congratulations! This is your reward for winning this. Like. That sucks. I'm sorry. Like you worked this entire season just to make the playoffs. You got yourself in the seed, and then it's just like, yeah, you got to play a meaningless game and possibly lose somebody to injury or suspension. Let's not forget suspension potentially. We are talking.
It is Liga MX. So.
Yeah, I was about to say it is Mexican soccer. So it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, do you want to risk that? I personally don't like that idea at all. If I were on one of these teams, and that's just a different conversation, but. Yeah, it is cool for the 9th and 10th seed. That's really cool. I will also pose an alternate theory that maybe you just build a toilet bowl tournament for the guys that are 9th and 10th seed and all the losers from the first round. See what happens. Oh, by the way, if that rings a bell to what you're thinking, yes, that is the 2nd division, or that is what is it? Not the Champions League. The
Europa League.
Yep, thank you. Europa League. That is how Europa League is decided. It's the first round losers plus the other teams. Like, I mean, if you want to make everybody included, that's how you do it. You don't do this play-in stuff. I just feel like it's too much.
Yeah, I think when you look at this new format, I think I would be fine with just having the top 4 automatically advancing and having a ridiculous amount of teams playing a reclassification match. But that's neither here or there, because the thing is with me is also, if you're that 7th place team and you do lose to the 8th place team, so now the 8th place team has got to play the 2nd seed, which, I mean, that's a relief instead of having to play America. But now
maybe because sometimes maybe it's not. Maybe you have a better matchup.
Actually, you might want to play against America because they love to choke here. But so
depending
now,
on especially depending on where you're from, they love to choke against them even more.
Yeah. So now the 7th seed, who now is no longer the 7th seed, has to play one more game and have to go then have to play at least the quote unquote best team this season. And so it's a double whammy, unless you're that 9th and 10th place team, which is like, regardless, you have to play 2 games, which that kind of sucks. Yeah. So honestly, if just make it 1st to 8th place, make it to the quarterfinals. This doesn't add any drama. Sometimes like there's a reason why they're 10th place. Like it's So yeah, we'll definitely get to who's facing off against who. But so the top 6 teams that are automatically getting put into the quarterfinals in first place is Club America. I mean, we already mentioned it, who had 12 wins, 4 draws, and 1 loss. Only 1 loss this season for Club America. They do this every year, man. I always pick America to be the favorite to win this thing, and then they choke. Like at this point, I'm not even jinxing them. I just literally they just choke at this point. I actually one time picked them to win, not to jinx them, just because I thought they were really good that year, and then they proved me wrong. So
it's the hardest thing in sports to carry a 1 or 2 loss team to the finals. It's a true state. Undefeated 1 loss, 2 loss team to a finals is near impossible because you have everybody's already seen what you can do. And then everybody can analyze that tape where you lost your 1 or 2 games. And guess what? All that tape just reveals even more problems with your team. And yeah, like then you got to deal with that. And then the fact is you only lost once, so you only had 1 opportunity to fix your own mistakes. Mm-hmm. And that's another issue in this whole conversation too. So not losing very often is often an Achilles heel.
Yeah. In second place is Monterrey with 10 wins, 3 draws, and 4 losses. Third place is the winners of the Clausura last year, Tigres, with 8 wins, 6 draws, and 3 losses.
You mean the winner of the Apertura this year?
No, Clausura.
No, I know. I'm saying you mean the soon-to-be winner of the Apertura this year.
Probably. I mean, they flip the switch every time. So
subtly me calling that right now.
The flip has not been switched. In fourth place is Pumas with 8 wins, 4 draws, and 5. The math's right. I was like, wait a minute. In fifth place is Chivas de Guadalajara. Somehow they're here. But yeah, they're here in fifth
probably
place.
Probably ask themselves the same thing.
And in sixth place, Puebla, finishing off in the top 6. So the teams that are going to be playing bound in seventh place, you have Atletico San Luis, which this was the biggest shock to me of all the teams that made it to the playoffs, because Atletico San Luis was actually in the top 6 before decision day. And I'm still shocked that they're here. They are usually a bottom dweller in Liga MX. And if it wasn't for the fact that Liga MX banned promotion relegation, they probably would have been relegated, so somehow they're here. Like, they don't even go to the school. And so, but yeah, so Atletico San Luis is in 7th place. In 8th place is Club Leon, which I always say, if they're in the tournament, do not be surprised if they're able to find themselves in the final, regardless of where they come in.
Copy and paste for the next team.
Yeah. In 9th place, Santos Laguna, another really good team that does really well in Liga MX playoffs. And in 10th place, Mazatlan, which I can't find anything positive to say about Mazatlan. They're just...
I got one. They had an impressive Nations tournament with the U.S. teams, and they were surprising.
Oh yeah, they were the highlight of the league. So
yeah, really, like I was surprised they lasted as long as they did when we covered that. I was like, wow, this is just keep getting better and better.
Yeah, so very interesting. But so these are the play-in matches. It won't be obviously this weekend because obviously it's international break. But obviously once it kicks off, in the 7th seed will be Atletico San Luis, like I mentioned, versus 8th seed Club Leon. Club Leon's going to win this game. I think they're going to be taking on Monterrey. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing?
It's going to be a fun thing, is for sure.
It's going to be a fun thing. But yeah, I can see Club Leon beating San Luis. They have the more experience than San Luis does, unfortunately. As much as I've enjoyed how they've been shocking everybody, I think this is kind of where it ends for them. Because now you got to think about that 9th seed versus Santos Laguna and 10th seed Mazatlan. I got Santos winning it, and then I think Santos ends up beating Atletico San Luis to face off against America.
I think you're probably right.
Which would be the funniest thing if they're able to eliminate Club America and Monterrey.
Yeah, no, I mean, that would be impressive by all means. It's funny because they want to spice this up, right? The play-in games. I got an idea for them. Take the play-in games, play them in Canada. Play them in like northeastern territory or northwest territories and like Nova Scotia. Super cold, wet, wintry weather, snow and ice everywhere. You want to entertain somebody, make it a penalty game that you're playing in this play-in game, and you have to play it in the snow before coming back to Mexico to play it in actual nice weather. Just torture. At this point in time, honestly, I hate playing games. So the whole playing idea. This is me just trying to make even more fun of the idea.
No, I'm with you. I still think the wild card round for MLS was dumb. But
you mean the best of 3?
no, that's round 1.
Oh, that was
there was a wild card game between the 8th and 9th seed.
I missed that, and then anything to get Messi in, guys. Sorry, I love Messi, but
yeah, so that is the Liga MX Apertura. Obviously, we'll be, as the tournament progresses, we'll cover it as we go. But right now, playing is a thing, so we'll see how that goes. Obviously, international break's coming up, but once it kicks off, you guys now know. Players Week is brought to you by In the Clutch. In the Clutch is an amazing apparel company that has partnered with the Players Associations of Major League Soccer, Major League Baseball, the National Basketball Association, National Football League, and do also some other random designs. But the designs are amazing. I love the originality with some of these shirt designs, and the best part, it always goes back to the players.
yes.
So if you guys go to intheclutch.com, and if you guys see it, there's going to be a design for you, because not only can you search by your team or by the sport or by the league, you can search by your own city. So if you want to rep your city, even better. So you can just go and check out. I guarantee you're going to find a shirt design that you're going to love. And if you guys use the code InsertName at checkout, you'll save yourself 10% off your entire purchase. Once again, these shirts are amazing. They're comfortable. And quoted by Kelcey right over here, they have passed the Fat Boy test.
Absolutely passed the Fat Boy test. If you guys don't know the Fat Boy test, you got to lift your arms up. If you sew belly and doesn't pass the Fat Boy test.
So there you go. So InsertName at checkout, save yourself 10% off. Kelcey, who is your player of the week?
So player of the week, we talked about it in the very beginning of the show, actually. Ali Krieger. Look, I said it's a fantastic story. I stand by it. Her final kick of the ball basically wins her a title. It's impressive to watch. The highest rated player statistically in the game, by the way. 45 completed passes, only 2 fouls. Very impressive for, let's not forget Ali Krieger at one point in time in her career was a left midfielder and worked her way back to the outside back position and even playing in center back position to enter NWSL career. And so I got to give Ali Krieger the credit here. Wins the championship and, goes out on a high in what has been probably a struggle for her club wise. But when you talk about a career for the U.S. women's national team, one of the really better, times to be a women's national team player. So yeah, shout out to Ali Krieger.
All right. Edward did send me his player of the week. His player of the week is Robert Lewandowski, who scored 2 goals in Barcelona's 2-1 win against Alaves. Like I said it in many episodes of InsertName FC. If Edward doesn't know who to pick, he goes sees what was the score of Barcelona and just picks the Barcelona player. So
him and Lewandowski, I swear there is a love affair there that neither one of us are privy to. But I think Lewandowski pays him. I think Lewandowski pays him on the side.
Yeah, I mean he's actually now in the running for his 3rd straight Roosevelt Spencer's Player of the Year award. So what a run!
To Acosta a try at this, but he didn't get it.
So very interesting there. And of course, my player of the week is Mohamed Salah, who scored 2 goals in Liverpool's 3-0 victory against Brentford. Also, randomly, me and Edward last week, we were talking about, the future of the Ballon d'Ors. And I mentioned now there's like all these names that are potentially coming. And Edward mentioned Romeo Beckham. Romeo Beckham was not on this roster at all, not even on the bench. So probably should go back to Miami. This is my advice to him. But hey, if he wants to keep doing the challenge of England, by all means, man, go ahead.
He'd always go join Sunderland. They need more filter for their Sunderland Till I Die TV show.
Is that still a thing?
I don't know. I haven't watched it. And I found it again last night on Netflix, and there's not a new season. So they made 2 seasons, and it was fantastic. And I miss it. I need more.
That was a really good series. Now it's getting overshadowed by Wrexham.
Less fantastic, but still equally fun.
But yeah, so congratulations to Ali Krieger, Robert Lewandowski, and Mohamed Salah for being our players of the week. Once again, guys, use that code InsertName at checkout. Save yourself 10% off your purchase. All right, guys, there is a lot of games coming up this weekend. It is the international break. So Starting off on Friday, we got Jamaica taking on Canada, Honduras versus Mexico, Denmark versus Slovenia, and Poland versus the Czech Republic. There is a lot of big matchups, CONCACAF Nations League, Euro qualifiers, Africa World Cup qualifiers. I know, right? Really?
I feel like they end the World Cup and they're immediately like, all right, we're going to qualify for the next World Cup.
And the U17 World Cup is also another thing to keep on. The games are super early, so I'm not going to try to highlight those games because it's like they're like in Indonesia, I think.
Yeah, it's like a 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. situation in the U.S.
Yeah, so but those are the big games on Friday. Saturday, there's one game you should be watching, and that's Germany taking on Turkey. Germany's back. That's all I gotta say.
Are they though?
After letting go of Hansi Flick, yes.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, a lot of people come back after getting rid of him.
But we'll see how it is with Julian Nagelsmann. But they did look pretty good. They did destroy the U.S. If that was a bragging point.
Is it a bragging point though?
I mean, they did beat Mexico.
Here's the thing: Turkey is always a tough out. No matter when you play them, whether it's a friendly or in a tournament. I never want to play them in a tournament, but never don't even want to play them in a friendly. So good luck to Germany. If you are back, this will tell us.
Yeah, exactly. On Sunday we got Bosnia and Herzegovina. Nailed it. Taking on Slovakia. I think that's gonna be a really interesting matchup. A lot of young players.
Lego Batman moment where you're just throwing the batarang a few times.
Nailed it.
In the end, nailed it.
Yeah, a lot of young players coming out of these two countries, so definitely a good one to be checking out. Portugal versus Iceland. Apparently Ronaldo's still playing, so
wow, surprising.
I don't know how, but
I was literally wondering if Edin Dzeko was playing for Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I mean, I don't know.
I don't think
But if Ronaldo's playing, I wouldn't be surprised if Dzeko's playing still.
Maybe. Scotland taking on Norway. Can we see a Norway with Erling Haaland? Maybe Odegaard's healthy. I'm not entirely sure. But can Odegaard get them into the Euros? I mean, can Odegaard and Haaland get them into the Euros?
Yes.
So
isn't this Euros like 48 teams now? So yeah.
Is it the expand? Did they expand it?
I believe this is the expanded Euros.
Oh, sheesh. All right, well, definitely improves their odds. And in the African World Cup qualifiers, Zimbabwe taking on Nigeria. So that's going to be, I think, a pretty good matchup. I say that with bias because obviously they have teenage DB over there in Zimbabwe. So
that's fair.
Got to root for the Dynamo players. And Monday, Trinidad and Tobago versus USA. Obviously, hopefully at this point the US is in a prime position to move on to the next round. But if not, we'll see.
A great way to take that is if not, well, oh crap. By the way, I was wrong. It is still only 24 teams for the Euros this year.
That's
24.
Panama taking on Costa Rica. I think this is I will say this game will be one of those like Panama officially jumps over Costa Rica as being the powerhouses of CONCACAF, if that's even a thing to brag about. But obviously Costa Rica getting really old. Still don't see many new players coming out of Costa Rica. Panama gets more and more exciting every year, seems like to me. So
what is the youngest player out of Costa Rica that you can think of that is actually that level of talent? I honestly can't think of any that have come out that's under 30. Really? Wow. It's already that time. Man, I'm getting old.
Keylor Navas is under 20 by heart.
Keylor Navas is like, that dude is like 21 at heart. And that's just so he can pass the drinking test in America when he comes here.
Slovenia taking on Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan actually looks really good now in qualifiers.
Look, I'm not going to stop anybody in the Euro qualifiers at this point in time. I don't know what is happening, but there are teams that should not be performing in the Euros in the qualifying stages.
Just slap like Borat right now, which is big success.
Yeah. Cue the music.
Kazakhstan looking really good against Slovenia. Maybe they can keep it going against Slovenia. And the last game to point out is Ukraine taking on Italy.
Underrated game.
Underrated game. Italy will be without Sandro Tonali and the other players that decided to gamble. So
was it? Yeah, 7 players. Is that how many they're missing?
I knew about Zanolio. I knew about Fagiolo. and obviously Tonali. Those were the three I knew. If there's more players, then
I think there was. I want to say it was like maybe I'm over embellishing. Maybe it's only 5. I feel like it was a lot though. Then again, I mean, you lose 3 players from an 11-man squad. You 11-man starter.
That's a big chunk of players right there.
Especially the talent level. Yeah.
Donnarumma's like, you guys had to gamble for money?
You guys gamble? You guys don't just get gifted money by your oil sheiks? Sorry, Donnarumma.
Also, what a day for Donnarumma's return to Milan and just get thrown money at him.
Yeah.
What a clip.
Fair, count me in. I said this. I said this on this exact show. If they wanted to come for me and be like, "Hey, I will give you $1 billion." All right, 1 year, $1 billion. All right, 3 years, $1 billion. 10 years, $1 billion. All right, but that's where I draw the line. 10 years.
Yeah, you gotta start thinking about the taxes and all that.
Yeah, yeah. Just make it legally. Let it sit overseas, and then I'll come back to America eventually.
But obviously, guys, there's a lot of games going on. There's a lot. I literally just told you all the competitions are going on in this international break. So there's no excuse that you shouldn't be watching something. But this is a good beginner's guide if you guys aren't entirely sure what to be watching, what to look out for this weekend. But yeah, Kelcey. I mean, obviously, we're gonna take another break where I'll be wrapping it up. But Kelcey, where can the good people find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me. And by the way, shout out GolzTV. This is my first appearance on your show since you guys have joined GolzTV. It's super cool. But yeah, I know. You guys can find me over at High Low Sports with my co-host DJ. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at High Low Sports, or on X, Twitter at high_low_sports. We go live every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, talk all things sports, not just one sport or 2 sports. We pretty much cover it all, highs and lows of everything. We'll give you some unique angles. That way you can win the debate at your office water cooler. And then you can find all of our audio-only episodes every Thursday morning, starting live at 8 a.m. on any one of the fantastic audio platforms you choose. Just search High Low Sports Podcast. If you search High Low Sports, you will be on a completely different conversation than what we do. But yeah, I know we love every time. We get to talk to Hector, and especially me. I love coming on and talking soccer every opportunity I get.
All right. Thank you, Kelcey. Make sure you guys go ahead and check out High Low Sports. Also, he's doing big things over there for Belly Up, as he is the director of marketing over there.
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote. The director of marketing. But yeah, thank you so much, man.
Anytime, man.
All right, we're going to take a break and then we'll get going. We're wrapping the show up. Hey guys, this is Hector from the InsertName FC podcast, here to tell you guys about Canada Dips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip, using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Canada Dip CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BellyUp20 at CanadaDipCBD.com. Once again, BellyUp20 at CanadaDipCBD.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Canada Dips for being a great partner of BellyUpSports. All right, thank you so much to Kelcey for joining in and talking some soccer. It's always great to have Kelcey. It's always cool to remember that me, Edward, and Kelcey, we started with Unhinged Sports, and now we're here at Belly Up Sports. So it's actually kind of a cool reflection, and whenever we do link up, especially now that what we're able to do for Belly Up Sports, and I really am able. I always enjoy having Kelcey on. So make sure you guys check out High Low Sports, man. Great podcast with him and DJ over there. But yeah, man. How do I want to wrap this up, man? I'm gonna say this. This weekend is definitely something that gave me some time to really think, and it's because of it kind of intertwines with 2 big impactful things in my life, and that is obviously my family and my service. If you guys don't know, I served in the U.S. Marine Corps for 5 years, from 2010 to 2015. In that time, I learned a lot about myself. that I'm pretty organized and pretty responsible. Because in the Marine Corps, yeah, most of the time they just throw you into a situation, but they don't put you in a leadership role unless they think you're ready for it. And even when you don't feel ready for it, they put you in there because they think you're capable of it. And I think that's one of the things that I always appreciated for my time in the Marine Corps, because I had an amazing support from all my leadership, especially when I was put in a position to run a crew. I was maybe 20 years old. That's 2 years out of high school, and but they felt I was ready, and so and that's crazy to think, right? Most places you don't see many 20-year-olds running a crew, and I was, it's crazy to think a lot of the things I was able to do between the age 18 to 23. Most people around that age, they're I'm not saying that they're not responsible, but to be responsible for grown men, grown adults, is at that age, and some people were older than you. At that age it's very out of the norm, especially in the regular world. But yeah, the Marine Corps really taught me pride, and obviously family is another thing that's very important to me. I think, especially leaving, when I left, when I left everyone to go serve, it's honestly a very hard thing. It's not easy. It is not easy to leave your family, and then you essentially become an outsider. At least that's how you feel. And even for for your family, like, you went from seeing this person every single day to maybe you'll get a text message from me at some point. And it's not because I was not thinking about them. It was just because I just didn't value the importance of just making time to talk to people, talk back home. And maybe that's something I didn't learn until I came back. But that's an important thing. I think one of the things that I like that my mom does is she calls everybody. It feels like it's like if she doesn't call somebody, somebody calls her. And it's like somebody from, back in LA, somebody from Boston, somebody from El Salvador. Someone's calling my mom, and they're talking for an hour, 2 hours, maybe 30 minutes, whatever the time they have, they talk. And I think that's something that's really cool. Maybe a little old school, maybe. But I wish I was like that. But once again, I was in my early 20s, so I didn't think about that. And but I think I think what's perfect about this weekend, like I said, obviously, the 10th and 11th, the 10th being the Marine Corps birthday, the 11th being Veterans Day, and the 12th being my niece's birthday, and the 13th being my mom's birthday. The 12th, my niece Heidi, she may sometimes not know this, but she was a strong push for me. One of my biggest reasons to keep going. There was some really, really bad times when I was in the Marine Corps. And I kept remembering that I had this little kid back here who doesn't really know me, and I want her to know me. Unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I wasn't there when she was born. Which obviously is my niece, so I don't think an uncle needs to actually be there at the birth of a child, but like, I'm just saying, like, for her first 5 years of her life, like, I wasn't there. Like, I was out serving my country, and so, like, whenever I did come home to visit, I was like a complete stranger to her, and that killed me every single time. And that's not the reason why I was like rough or anything like that, but like, but that really did affect me, and I always remember, no matter how bad the days were, and obviously you have a great group of friends back in the Marine Corps as well, that your support system as well. But like, but I remember every single day, especially when maybe it was a little bit more mentally draining than others. I just remember that there's this little girl back in Houston that I would really like to know. And obviously once I got out and got to like really hang out with her. It was really just like every day was just a privilege for me just to see this kid just grow up to be the person that she is. And yeah, now she's a teenager, and that's a whole another can of worms to deal with, but she knows she knows that she has me no matter what. And so I love that girl to death. I love that little kid to death. But yeah, that was one of my biggest driving forces every single day, no matter how bad my day was. And it's funny because like on Facebook, I had like a whole photo album of just my niece. And so I remember like when there was like a really, really bad day, like I didn't want to really talk to anybody. I would immediately just pull up the pictures of my niece and just look at every single one of them and just remember what I'm doing, what all this that I'm doing is for, and it's for her. So that kid saved my life. That's all. That's really what I'm gonna try to say. I'm trying to explain is that kid saved my life, and I'm always gonna make sure she knows that. But and then obviously the last day was my mom's birthday, and of the weekend of that eventful weekend was my mom's birthday, which is always just a perfect way to wrap it up because of how impactful my mom is, not only to me or to my sister, but to the family. My mom is the glue to the Martinez family, and I know everyone knows my last name is Flores, but my mom is Martinez. But she is the glue. You know, everyone goes to my mom, and I love that about her that she's so well mixed in with everyone and knows what everybody's doing. Like there's not a single thing that's going on that my mom doesn't know, and it's an impeccable thing. And you know, it's one of those things where I'm just like I want to be like that. I want to be that when it's my turn, you know. So it was just perfect. I think this weekend was honestly the perfect way to explain who I am. My service is a big part of who defines who I am. The things that I learned, the things that I was taught, the leadership skills, you know, the organization, all those things, those are important pieces of me. Like those are what makes me who I am. The confidence that I gained from being in the Marine Corps. And then you have my family, who is my driving force, the one that keeps me human. If that makes any sense. It's just the things that makes me learn to appreciate the little things, that life is short. And I think that comes also with the military. Life is so short, so precious that we need to just sit back and just touch grass every once in a while and just be in the moment. And I think that is the best part of what this weekend was, you know, being able to reflect on my time in the Marine Corps and being able to enjoy my family and like just being able to sit down and I mean, I see my family every weekend. I see them every weekend. We're never not going to hang out, but you know, when we're able to celebrate another year of my mom is the best. And it's great to be able to have everyone together and honors and celebrate someone that we truly love. But yeah, so that whew, all right. I really like that. I really like saying that. But thank you to all those who have served this country. I can honestly tell you, I understand it more than anybody else what it means to serve. It's a big sacrifice, but not only for you, but it's also for the families involved. That it is also a big sacrifice for them. But yeah, I want to give a shout out to the Belly Up Sports Belly Up Sports Media, Belly Up Sports for obviously it's a great platform. They are building something really awesome over here in the U.S. But check them out, Belly Up Sports on Instagram and X at Belly Up Sports and at Belly Up Media, so you can get all the updates across all the podcasts and articles that are being written of all the sports, whether it's baseball, hockey, soccer, whatever you want. It's right there, Belly Up Sports. Check them out. Check out GolzTV, man. Golz.tv. It is the Hulu of American soccer content. Make sure you guys go ahead and check that out at Golz.tv. Follow them on Instagram at Golz.tv, GOLZ.tv, and on Twitter at GOLZ_TV. So that's how, or I might have got that flip. It's one or the other, but that's what I gotta say. Obviously, shout out to our guy Roosevelt Spencer. He is if you guys hear the intros and the outros, that's the guy responsible for it. If you think the beats are sick, man, go ahead and follow him on Instagram at @thatguydope. Once again, at @thatguydope. If you guys need some beat work done, go ahead and hit him up. He'll take great care of you like he always does with us. So we really appreciate Spencer. Make sure you guys show him some love over there. Once again, follow us on Instagram and X at InsertNameFC. Check us out on TikTok at insert.name.fc. And yeah, man, salute to everybody that served, and catch us next week for episode 153. Y'all take care, guys.
I don't